Welcome to the Builders Podcast, episode 75. Inbal Claudio, her story, balancing being a mom and building a tech business.
Before we jump into this episode, please subscribe to this podcast if you love business and real stories from the trenches. And after a listen, please give us a thumbs up, like, and share if we've earned it. Hit that notification bell too if you're on YouTube so you don't miss each episode. With your help, we can reach more people and deliver these valuable From the Trenches lessons to those that need it. Enjoy the episode.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Matt Levenhagen, your host on The Builders. Today, we are joined by Inbal Claudio. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate you having me.
So we are going to do, as the Builders tradition here, the first episode somebody is on. We talk about that entrepreneurial journey to becoming the business person you are today, the awesome person you are today, what that journey looked like, the ups and downs, what you deal with on a daily basis in this case. So that's what we're going to do today. So with that, if you want to introduce yourself, let us know a little bit about yourself. And then if you want to start telling your story, and we'll see where that takes us today.
Yeah, sure. I will give the medium version of the story. So I'm originally from Israel. I grew up in Orange County, California, lived here the majority of my life, except for a 4-year stint where my husband and I lived in North Carolina. He was an officer in the Marine Corps. So we got stationed out there for a little bit. He got out this last July of 2021, and we moved back to California where my family is and our friends are. I went to college out here, went to Cal State Long Beach, worked every single day since I was 16 years old, usually having 2 to 3 jobs at a time. Or going to school, having an internship, and having a job. I remember driving to school sometimes, like holding my eyes open. I was so tired, but it was worth it. I love working hard. So I've always kind of been in the service industry. I was working in restaurants, bartending, managing. I was the GM of a restaurant down in Newport Beach, and quickly realized that I probably needed to work for myself. I have a lot of ideas, and some of them are not received very well by, I won't be too mean, but people who don't know what they're doing, who have a lot of money that are buying restaurants. So I was like, I think it's better that I go the entrepreneurial route. And I got my real estate license, my broker's license. I started my own brokerage, did that for a little bit, and realized that I didn't like being the bearer of bad news to people when things were out of my control. If you can't tell, I'm type A. I like to be in control of situations, and in real estate, it's just not the case. And that's, there's people's livelihood on the line, a lot of money. So I still have my brokerage. My dad and mom actually flip houses now under my brokerage, so that's cool. But yeah, I ended up working in another company that had an entrepreneurial mindset, which was nice because they really liked input and ideas. So I was there for about 3 years, and that's when I met my husband. 6 months after we started dating, we were like, let's just start a small business kind of to make a little bit extra money, travel, pay rent. And that turned into like a full-fledged business. It was a candle company. It took us about 6 months to trial and error, learn how to make candles. And
you were making candles.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. In my kitchen.
In your kitchen.
My poor roommates were like, not poor because the house smelled so good. But there was candle stuff everywhere. But yeah, so it was a way for me to keep myself busy also, because he was gone a lot for training and going through different selections for special operations and things like that. So when he left for his selection process, I launched the company. I had tons of connections because I grew up here. So I was doing farmers markets. I was doing a lot of shows. I was getting a lot of business. And this was August of 2017. And then he got selected for special operations, and they were like, okay, you're moving to North Carolina. So good and bad, it's very interesting, like building a company 3 months after you just launched in a different city and having to like rebuild your name, customers, like your reputation in the farmers market circuit, which is huge. But it was a really great learning experience. And honestly, it was nice because I was meeting people in a new city. So that was kind of my journey to get to North Carolina. And then a year later, I had my first child and I realized I can't do farmers markets anymore. So still sell candles and make candles to this day, but I decided to launch a tech platform instead. So I'll stop talking there. So I'll let you go.
Yeah, we'll pick up there. I'm gonna rewind a little bit. So one of the things that always fascinates me is like what inspires somebody to become an entrepreneur, or where did that spirit come from? Because you, as you talk about, you're working for other people. And this is a common story among entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. They tried to work for somebody else, but it went south when you're trying to, like, this is not the way you should be doing it. Be quiet. Just do your job. But so that happens with a lot of us, I think. But who was there was it in your family? Sometimes it's just you have a family of entrepreneur, business people, or was it somebody specific that influenced you to kind of groom you to be that person?
No, it's funny. My parents did. My dad is a software engineer, so he's always worked for a company. But they did have a small company building computers, like way back in the day with like the actual computers, like motherboards and all that stuff where you're actually building computers, like rectangular ones. So they used to build computers, and sell them. So I did see that, but my dad is like me. Like, he is the hardest worker I know. He's always done anything he could to provide for his family. And, being a foreigner in a new country, he got here because we moved here because he got accepted to college. And so he had to start making money. He had a family to support, and he just never stopped working. So now he's retired. And like I said, they flip houses, they manage properties. My dad sells and buys real estate. Still just a very hard worker. But I never really had like that entrepreneurial role model, I guess, which is probably why I made a lot of mistakes along my journey, but I learned a lot from it. But I will say this, I had the support of my parents, which was very important. And when I came to my dad with my tech idea, which we'll talk about later, he was like, wow, that's an amazing idea. Let's do it. Like, let me help you. So it's nice. And it really breaks my heart that some people don't have that support system from their family, and those that succeed without that, that's incredible.
Yeah. Well, it is important. I mean, my father, he worked for John Deere for like 30 plus years, and kind of worked his way up, and he was working with computers and all kinds of stuff at the end. But then he retires and he starts a little tech business, tech support for computers and stuff like that, computer repair, and did that for like 20 years after that. So, but the thing about him is I recall even when I was young, and I've always kind of had this kind of free spirit of doing whatever. But he was always, you can do whatever you want. He was that type of parent, and both my parents that were like, go out, do what they believed in me. Like, if you want to do something, go do it. They never said, I don't know, maybe they should a few times, but they would have prevented some pain in my life. But yeah, that's so important. It makes sense that was the same for you.
I mean, my mom is more of like I wouldn't say pessimist. She's a realist. Like when I told her, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do farmers markets for the candles. And she's like, but there's so many other candle companies out there, which is, she's not wrong. Right. But I will say the difference with ours is I infuse all the wax with real gold. And so it shimmers really beautifully. And so I told her, I was like, we have the only gold infused candle out there, and it sets us apart. And, she, like I said, she's more cautious when it comes to things like that. But it's so interesting to see, like, she was with me on launch day. Like, she helped me sell the candles on launch day. And, you know, there is still that support, but just the way that she approaches it is different. It's just so funny to see the different personalities come out.
That's good though. It's good to have feedback from different personalities. So you don't want to just be surrounded by people who are like, yeah, go for it. That looks good.
Yeah, you're doing great. You're perfect.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, and I would imagine your husband, it sounds like he was on board with the business idea too, and supported you. And maybe does he have a business background as well, or besides the military? And
no, he got his degree before joining the military. So he actually went to school for biology and wanted to be a dentist, which is so funny because he's like, oh, they work like 3 days a week for 5 hours and they make a ton of money, which is like a very lazy mentality, and he's not lazy at all, which is so funny. But no, he didn't either. His mom was in the education industry. She's gonna retire in next month, and his dad worked for a nuclear power company, so he never had that either. But he is like so supportive. He was helping me make candles. We were researching. We were coming up with like candle names together. He tells everybody and anybody about our candle company, about my new business. So very much a support.
Well, I asked that because, again, it's one of those things. I mean, you live with this person every day. There's so many people out there with businesses. You're with this person. They have to support you on some level. Like my wife, she is that grounded person. She, numerous times, we've been married for 20 years, been together for 22. There's a number of times in my entrepreneurial journey where she said, why don't you just get a real job? What are you doing?
A real job.
Yeah, but at the same time, she grumbled along the way, and she, trying to keep my feet on the ground. But at the same time, she obviously supported me. She's still with me, and I've proved myself by this point. But that's so important, and there's a lot of people out there that struggle with having somebody that are surrounded by people that aren't supportive, they're negative, and so that's good. Yeah. So now at this point, now let's fast forward a little bit back to where we are with the tech stuff, where that pivot comes from. So at this point, you had one child, if I recall you said, and so you're starting. So one of the things we talked about before we got on today was like, how much you balance, with family and especially with a husband that's probably deployed somewhere and you're doing it all on your own, and that's got to be a real challenge. So before, like, to that time, was it a challenge, or does that challenge get harder later?
Yeah. So my journey as a mom has probably been as up and down as your entrepreneurial journey. My husband deployed for the first time when my first daughter was 6 months old, which just so happened to be February 2020. So he left for Africa, and I moved back to California with my daughter. 2 weeks later, COVID hit, and I was so thankful that I was with my family in California with the support of my parents. But I got the idea for my business when she was 3 months old. So it was nice because I started to kind of work through that. And I had the support of my parents. So she is 3 now. I also have a 1-year-old who we were talking about. She's currently napping like an angel, knock on wood. And I am back in California because my husband got out. But he now works for a defense technology company. So he travels like 4 weeks at a time, 3 to 4 times a year. And then he also has like 1 week to 2 week long trips throughout the year as well. So he's gone a lot. I would not be able to do this if I didn't have my parents living 5 minutes away. And then we have a nanny that comes like 3 hours a day in between my daughter's naps so I can work. It takes a village, and everybody says that, but it really truly does. Like, my mom comes in the morning so that I could take my daughter to school and get the other one ready for the day. And then she leaves and my dad picks up my daughter from school, or the nanny's here and I go get my other daughter from school and get everybody ready for bedtime. But it's a lot of work, but I don't ever really think about it until I talk about it like this, because it's what you're doing. It's what you're supposed to do,
Yeah.
You wake up in the morning, you get one out, you snuggle on the couch a little bit. The other one gets up, you make breakfast, you get them dressed, and then you just get started for the day. But I will say, with the ups and downs of motherhood and being pregnant and hormones and all of that while building a business, I'm just going to go back to my husband again, and just like having that support system of somebody who is like, you better keep going. Like, you have this, like, how can I help? Like, what you're doing. This is what you're meant to do, is just so crucial, because there is so many times just in the building process. Like, I went through 4 different developers, 6 different launch delays, where I could have just been like, I'm done wasting our savings. This is just pointless. So yeah, it's difficult to balance everything, but you have to have a partner, and it's very beneficial to have a support team around you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's an obvious reason why you're successful and where you have landed. And so many people don't have that. It's like, you always hear, like, you have to surround yourself with positive people and this and that, but you also got, to be around family or whoever that is there to support everything you're doing. That's a fortunate situation to be in, for sure.
I'm well aware that I'm very fortunate to have that, because I know a lot of people don't.
Yeah. Well, and within that though, like, you're still managing, and even though you have all this help, you're still managing all of that. It's still hard, because you're still you have to have routines. You have to make sure everybody's communicating. And so you're actually part of the management of this whole thing. You're managing your business, and you're managing that, and you're,
Well, it's so funny because, like, I'm still mom, right? So if my daughter is having an off day and she doesn't want to hang out with my aunt, then it's like she's on my lap during Zooms and coloring on my desk and scribbling. All that, like, my developer knows both my kids. Everybody, like, she's been on my master classes that I do. And that's the thing too, you can say like, oh yeah, I have this, I have that. But like, bottom line is, you're a mom. Like, if they're sick and like they take turns being sick because, they pass germs and stuff, then like I have to go pick her up from school and I have to accommodate. And, it's nice because I can always cancel meetings last minute and be like, I'm so sorry. Like, there's literally nothing I can do. My child is sick, and 99% of people understand. So that's also
well, they should. I think especially with COVID and so many more people working at home and stuff, I think it has to be kind of baked into the way people manage things in a business or, meetings and all that stuff. There's going to be the situation where there's a child in somebody's lap at some point. But like, and as much as you plan and as much as organized as you are, there's also fires. There's things that happen that are unexpected that you have to be prepared for that. And that's probably stressful, but at the same time, I would imagine you have to kind of learn how to just cope with that and just roll with it. Like, this is the way it is, whether anybody, this is the situation, whether you like it or not. I'm missing this meeting 100%. Today. We're going to have to reschedule, period. You don't like it? See ya.
Yeah, I had a podcast for a friend of mine in a couple hours, and I had to schedule a pediatrician appointment for my daughter. And so I messaged her, and, the only downfall is now we can't meet till August, which is in a couple months. So it's just waiting it out, but there's no other option. So she understands, she's a mom too, dads understand. It's just, that's how it is.
Yeah, it's your priorities.
Yeah.
So, okay, so tell us, so that hopefully is inspiring to any, women listening that are juggling all the same stuff, or guys juggle too. But it's always good to hear from somebody that's in it, doing it. And like you said, you're only not even thinking about it. You're just going for it. Now, what is the, how did you decide to go into the tech world? Like what happened there?
What happened there? That's a very good question. So like I said, my daughter was born and I couldn't do farmers markets anymore. I was nursing. I was a new mom. I didn't know what I was doing. And I had to basically transition from in-person sales to online sales. And I heard the best way to do that is through influencer marketing. So I started researching influencers and started messaging people. My candles are beautiful. I was like, I'm just going to gift people them. They're going to want them. They're going to talk about it. Well, I could not be further from the truth. If I even got a message, because Instagram hides all messages from people you don't know, it was usually their manager, their PR agency, and telling me, it's thousands of dollars to post, because I was looking at these influencers with 100,000 followers or more. So I was kind of brought back to reality, and then I found something called influencer marketing platforms, where basically it's a database of influencers, and you can join as an influencer or a brand, and you can search for people that way. And either they send you to their email or their Instagram, and you can kind of connect on there. So I tried to sign up for about 20 and realized they were like either $300 to $500 a month to use, or they had all these minimum requirements like business size, and it was just me, so I didn't really have a substantial employee number, or they just weren't taking any more candle companies. So I was so defeated. I was like, how am I going to get in front of these people if I can't even get a hold of them? And that's kind of when, I think it was like 11 o'clock at night, I told my husband, I was like laying down thinking, we were about to go to sleep. And I was like, I'm going to start a platform. And at this point, he's like not surprised by anything, because when I was pregnant, I wanted to create like a beach chair with a hole in the bottom for pregnant women. So he's like, okay, let's hear this idea. Basically a beach chair with a hole so you can put your belly and you can lay stomach down.
Oh, stomach down. I was like, why would you need stomach down? Yes. Okay,
stomach down so you can tan your back. Which is
I don't know why my brain was like, well, in case you have the baby when you're sitting you need a hole in it.
No.
Never mind.
Stomach
Okay,
down.
Okay, got it.
But like wacky ideas. So
That's great. Yeah.
So if anybody wants to do that, please do, and let me know when it's ready for purchase. I had this idea because I wanted to really create a platform for small businesses, for small and nano and micro influencers, small brands who are just starting out, who didn't have $500 a month to spend when they wanted to gift product. And then these nano and micro influencers who were just starting out, they didn't have the 10,000 followers. So if they were on these platforms and people were paying $500 a month, they were not going to reach out to influencers with 100 followers, 500 followers, 1,000 followers, because they wanted more of a return on investment. So I wanted to create an influencer marketing platform for small businesses and nano and micro influencers who are being overlooked in the influencer marketing space. So that was the initial idea, and that's kind of what I started to build out. And as I was building this, I was essentially a tech founder with no tech experience. And so I started to connect with other women in the space, and I was getting so motivated talking to them. And I'm like, I need to include this aspect onto the platform. Like, I need to create a community of influencers and founders to connect and grow and learn from one another. And so it kind of transitioned to a community platform for influencers and women founders. And then, as most businesses do, it pivoted again because I wanted to also provide that education aspect. So small businesses and influencers who are just starting out, they didn't know the ins and outs of marketing. They didn't know the ins and outs of, starting a business, building out a website, how to design it to bring more traffic, SEO, copy, logo design, all of that stuff. So that's kind of what it's transformed to. We have a community feed where you can post, you can ask questions, you can connect. So now it's a social media platform for creators and female founders. And I think that's where I'm stopping for now.
You're stopping for now.
And we do weekly marketing masterclasses. They're all face-to-face. They're very interactive, hands-on, brainstorming. I bring in a new expert every single week from all over the world to teach on something marketing-wise. So that's where I'm at right now, and we launched 4 months ago.
4 months ago?
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was so near in the past.
Very new, yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot there. Okay, so So first of all, I think it's inspired. I think it's great that one of the things that, well, some of us people that build businesses and are entrepreneurs like to build products and services. We're full of ideas, and I always I've talked to people about how do you come up with these ideas. Some people just have, it's just, their brains are wired to just see things, see problems, and say, how can I provide a solution to that? And that's exactly like even the chair with the, for pregnant women, you thought of that idea because you were probably dealing with that problem, or you were just, when you were pregnant, maybe you needed to lay in a chair one time and you're like, how I can't do this.
Yes,
but the same
every
with
pregnant woman wants to lay on their stomach at some point in pregnancy. I guarantee you, ask your wife. And there is no place to do that unless you go and get a prenatal massage and they have the pregnancy thing where you can lay in.
Gotcha.
But it provides so much relief and it's so nice. So that's, yeah.
But, and then to the tech stuff, I mean, it was a pain point you ran into trying to become an influencer or get influencers' attention, and how costly that was. And you realized there's a whole market here not being served. All the people that could, have amazing things going on and they don't have any avenue. So now you're helping those people. That's that. And then the tech thing though, it's like creating it. So one of the problems, and again, I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs and business people and I've heard the horror stories or the failure stories of somebody that's non-techie trying to start a tech company or create an app. And they didn't get a good partner or somebody else that did have that knowledge to complement them. And it just went down in flames. How did you find somebody like that you partnered up with, or did you just learn it all yourself in the evenings? And
yeah, I am a solo founder. Okay. I did mention that my dad was a software engineer, so I had kind of a sounding board on my side. I will say this though. He is retired and the tech industry is changing by the second. So he had a very broad overview of the questions I needed to ask. He could ask questions to know if they knew what they were talking about or not. And he also kind of knew what price point I should be looking at roughly. So we started talking to developers and people, and I got a very wide range of estimates. I knew of this guy because he built out the website for one of the bars that I worked at. And so I reached out to him, great guy. And he said, yeah, let me connect you to the founder. He'll set up you with a developer. And I'm like, okay, great. I trust this guy, Well, the owner was somebody that I had never worked with in the past, and he had no idea what he was talking about. But he outsourced the work overseas. And that was problem number one, because he didn't know what he was talking about. So whenever I had a question about anything, it would take 3 days to get an answer. And I was correcting grammar and punctuation on the website. So it wasn't functionality issues or UI, UX. It was this word should not be here. There should be a period, not a comma. And I was getting really frustrated. Excuse me. So that lasted far too long. It was about 8 months of going back and forth. But I was so out of the loop because there was a developer and there was a project manager, and I was not getting any communication. So I basically told him like, hey, this is not going in the direction that I wanted to. And I just called it a loss, essentially. I was like, let's just get to the point that you can, and let me just move on. So that was, I was already pregnant with baby number 2 at this point, and it was not fun to go through all those hormone changes and have to get to this point in business because I had to find another developer, and I didn't want to get screwed over again. So it took me about 3 months to find somebody. I found this really great guy in Oregon who was flat out with me. He's like, I'm a developer. I don't know this language, but I can manage it for you. And I said, okay, the one thing is I don't want it outsourced. I want somebody in the US that I can communicate with on the same day. And he was like, no problem. I hear you. I understand you. Well, he hired somebody, and that person outsourced it overseas. So I'm like, this is deja vu, I'm going through the same. And I told him, I'm like, it's being outsourced. It's being outsourced. Like, I know it is. And he's like, let me talk to my developer. And sure enough, he had to go through this whole process with Upwork because he hired him from Upwork, and that guy outsourced. So he then found another guy, and this guy was not very quick, but he was doing what he was supposed to. I knew that I wasn't going to move forward with this guy once I launched because I needed somebody. At this point, I had enough knowledge to hire somebody myself and just work with a developer myself. And I wanted them to fix bugs. I wanted me to be able to text them or message them and have a response right away. This is a platform where users are actually on and using and communicating. So I wanted it to be efficient. And so I basically found somebody else about a month before I was supposed to launch. And he was basically hand-holding them, like helping them get it to launch. I found this guy through Upwork. I got so lucky with him. He was just starting out with Upwork, but he had extensive knowledge in this language. And that's my developer today. He teaches me things. We're on Zoom. He's like showing me what he's doing. He's explaining things. We brainstorm together. And that's the developer that you need if you're a non-technical founder. You need not a project manager, not a company. You need a developer to work hand in hand with who will teach you. And like I said, I got lucky because I don't know if I would have gone through another bad developer. I don't know, even with the support of my husband, I don't know if I would have been able to emotionally continue.
Yeah. It's, as I think you know this, but I have a web design agency. I'm a web developer. So all the things you're saying resonate with me. Because we try to solve that problem for other agencies that go through the same stuff. It's so very common for people to outsource, especially overseas. That's not necessarily a bad thing. We outsource overseas, but everything flows through me or will flow through somebody in the U.S. and I understand the development. Like I could do it myself. And that is important to me. And I think, finding that person and that's, there's, for me, communication, when I'm working with other agencies and stuff, we have partnerships and like with digital marketing agencies and all this stuff. And one of the things that differentiates me is that I'm the one they're talking to. They're asking the questions or I'm asking the questions, or I might have another developer working on something and they might have questions to me, but I still ask those questions or I answer them myself. So, and there's less delays. It's always, every day I'm talking with everybody if there's questions, and that's really, it's not necessarily, I don't know how hard it's to find. It was hard for me to find at various points. So that's rough. And especially if you're kind of new to the game and you're trying to build something from scratch for the first time. I've known other people that have tried to develop products and ran into the same issue. Like they have this great idea, but it's a nightmare.
I'll tell you a funny story. So I went on Upwork and I was looking for my developer on Upwork. I went Fiverr like long time ago because I feel like the quality there is horrible for what I was looking for. So on Upwork, I put out a job, and so people can apply for this job for those of you who don't know. And I started messaging them, and I had like a series of 5 questions initially that I would ask. And if those answers came back like up to par, then I had another 5 questions to ask, like more technical questions. And then I would do an interview. So my developer now works full-time. He manages a whole department, a development department. So he was like, Inbal, like, I am 80% here for you, but I know that you're going to have issues like during the day, and sometimes I can't get to them. So he's like, maybe you find like a junior level developer and I will oversee everything, but try to find somebody who's there, like, you know, who's readily available Monday through Friday. And so I was like starting to stress out, and he's like, I'm not leaving you high and dry. I promise I'm here for you. I'm here for you. But I was looking for somebody on Upwork. So I started the interview process with people, and there are people who would cancel last minute on me, say that they were in the car or say that they had a doctor's appointment or something like that. And I was like, what is going on? Like, I'm so confused how people like are just canceling last minute. Somebody messaged me on LinkedIn. He was like, hi, Inbal. I wanted to let you know that so-and-so, I forgot his name, so-and-so is a fraud. You're talking to him on Upwork. You had a meeting with him today, but he wanted me to sit in on the meeting. So essentially, he was going to outsource it to somebody else and pretend that he was this one person. And so from that point, when people that I talked to, if they didn't have a camera, so I would make it very clear. I'm like, I want to Zoom meeting with you with the camera on. And they would cancel meetings right away because it wasn't them. And it was so funny to me, like, to learn that. And that's just a part of the learning process, right? I didn't end up hiring a junior developer. My developer's like, you're having a lot of problems. I don't trust anybody else to work on this project right now that you're talking to. So let me just stay on. But yeah, it's funny. People will, especially, and I don't want to sound like a woman thing here, but like, especially women, if you're talking to somebody and you're talking to developers, like, a lot of people will try to take advantage if they can, you know, because they think that you're uneducated. And I was. So educate yourself. And the biggest thing that I have to say is try to find a mentor, or try to find somebody that you connect with who has built something similar or is in the tech space that you can maybe just refer questions to help.
That's great advice. Yeah, even if you can't have a partner, can't find a good partner or somebody to work with you, having those people to talk to is really, really valuable. Mm-hmm. I got so many. Like I had somebody too that was just a couple of years ago that was he was communicating me. I think it was started on LinkedIn, and we were Zooming, and then somewhere along the line, I figured out, wait a minute, why has he got this company name, or agency name? He was like part of an agency. I thought it was just like one person. And I'm like, that's so, you just never know on the surface. And like what you have, having a good process and knowing, the questions to ask, and enforcing that video thing too. I think those are that's really good stuff.
The video was huge. Well, it was funny because I could talk about this for hours, but I talked to somebody, we had a meeting, and this is one of the first people I interviewed, and his camera was off, and asked him, I was like, oh, do you have camera capability? He's like, oh, my computer doesn't have a camera. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm going to trust this guy to develop my platform. He doesn't even have a camera on his computer. Like, what computer do you have that doesn't have a camera nowadays? It's just so bizarre. Right. So I was like, okay, I'll talk to you later. Bye.
So we could talk about this for hours, because there's so many pitfalls and examples of, and you have to, if you're going to develop something, you have to find somebody that's competent and has the skill sets you need. But even then, like, do they really? I mean, I've had plenty of people tell me they're full stack developers, or they're this or they're that, and they're not really. Nobody can be a full stack. You can't know everything. There's too much. Just in the JavaScript realm, there's like a lot. You can't be.
I know. And they'll say, like, because I asked, like, oh, do you know X, Y, and Z? Because those are integrated on the platform. And they were like, no, but it's very similar to this, this, and this. And it's like, it could be very similar, but I'm still going to be paying you to learn how to do that. So I don't want to pay you to learn how to do that. And then there's also, asking if it works best for you, like how much do you charge hourly or how much do you charge per project, which could work in your favor either way. Like my developer fixes bugs in 5 minutes. When other developers will be like, oh yeah, that's at least an hour because they have to go back into the code and do this and that. So it's just about knowing the right questions to ask and to have like somebody to help. With what questions to ask and the process and all that, because it's not easy. It's a new language. It literally is a whole new language.
Like all things with businesses, entrepreneurship, it's messy. It's to get to where you want to be. There's this thing that we do too, or I have done, building teams and over the years and working with clients. Clients test me all the time. They'll give me a small project. Let's see if we can work together. See if we're got alignment here. I had one of my larger clients. This is like a year ago now, but out of the blue, he was actually, I was referred to him from another developer friend who didn't have the time to help him anymore. And but he was so frustrated when I got him. He's got a very busy e-commerce store. He was so frustrated. He has this like team of people like trying to fix this bug for like a couple days. And it was a pretty serious bug. I remember what it was specifically at the moment, but and I came in and I was able to fix that within a few hours, got it fixed. And that was a great starting point. And to this day, now we have this, big maintenance plan with them and help them out. But it's so critical to find those people. And like I said, to find somebody to help you, at least to bounce questions and ideas off of and stuff like that. It's amazing.
Yeah, 100%. And, there's a lot of Facebook groups for female tech entrepreneurs or women in tech that are good starting points to connect with people if you're a woman.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's like interesting because it's like it's challenging for men to do this, to deal with this. And there's another layer there when you're probably a woman. So how's it going now? How the business is going well? You have your user base. Is there growth? Are you doing well marketing it? Or how are you marketing it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when I was talking about my business, there were lots of changes. And so with every change comes like new messaging, new verbiage on the platform. You get insight from people. So things were changing for a bit. But I have over 500 users signed up on the platform. So that's good. A lot of them are influencers who are looking to work with small brands. So it's kind of been... It's essentially a marketplace without the currency transaction. So I have to really build out each aspect. So influencers were first, now kind of building out the businesses and brands and small businesses, and then service providers and aspiring entrepreneurs. So it really has been just me reaching out to people, like finding people who are my target audience and messaging them directly on Instagram. And like I said before, messages are hidden sometimes. So I get about like 20% of people who respond and are like, wow, I have been looking for this. Thank you so much. Yeah. And they're interested. And I started to build my email list when I had just had an idea about this. So I started to get people interested. And then when I launched, I had quite a few people who were ready to sign up. And then I post a lot in Facebook groups, and now I'm starting, now that I have like my email sequences ready, I have my homepage 99% ready, I'm going to start doing more Facebook ads and targeting that way. There's a different pricing structure, so anybody can sign up for free and access the platform. And then there's a couple paid options. So I think we're just working on getting people in at the free level and then showing them like, wow, you get so much more if you pay. But everybody gets 10 days of full access so they can check it out. But yeah, Facebook ads, I'm hoping, now that my daughter is kind of, okay without me for a couple days with my husband, I'm actually going to a conference for the first time, going to network with people,
Nice.
which I'm super excited about. So I'm just trying to scream from the rooftops, tell people about my business, get feedback, get more people signed up. So that's kind of what I'm doing.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's again, another common thread with a lot of businesses, especially in tech. I mean, you got to get out there. It takes years. We had a Vova Friedman, I think so. Vova was on our podcast, and he owns Freemius, which is a large platform for WordPress. I had met him at a WordCamp years ago, and but his journey is the same thing. Like, he started out when I first met him back in 2017. He didn't. I don't know how many. Maybe he had a few dozen people on his platform, or he was looking for those few first. Mm-hmm. And now he just celebrated 1,000 people in his Slack group. That's how he's and so I've seen this kind of develop with him, and it's been amazing. But the way he did it is he just got out there. He got the word out. He did everything he could. And like you're talking about, even on social media, it's nice to hear that works. It's a numbers game. You're going to have to put the numbers. It's just like direct email or anything like that. I've done some direct email. We did that a couple of years ago. But we do a lot of social media stuff now too. But it's knowing that you're not everyone's going to reply, but you got to put the numbers in. You got to have some large enough number where you're going to, and then you can figure that out, what the percentage is you're going to reply and get replies from and stuff. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, we're starting, an affiliate program, in the next month. And it's just the people who are on the platform, the people who join the master classes every week, the ones who brainstorm, who network, they're like raving fans. So I was like, why do I not have them talk about it and be able to make some money off of it as well? And that's kind of how I thought, I'm going to start an affiliate program, because these people are talking about my platform anyways. Like, I would love to compensate them. So affiliate marketing is also huge. And I had no idea where to start with that. I actually met somebody who's helping me. So if anybody's interested in affiliate marketing, reach out and I'll connect you guys. There's so much that goes into it. Also, messaging, cold emailing, cold DMs, how to set up your whole system, what you're going to offer, stipulations if they don't follow through with what they promise. So there's a lot that goes into every aspect of trying to grow your business.
And you're doing this all yourself, or do you have anyone you're outsourcing to help you, like maybe with the DMing and all that stuff, or you're just doing it all?
I'm doing it all myself. I am happy to report that as of Monday, 2 days ago, I hired an intern. So that's really exciting. At least for the next 3 months, she's going to be doing a lot of my video content. So, I want to create like an intro video on the homepage explaining why I started, showcasing the inside of the platform, really kind of talking about the community and building real relationships and what you can get out of this platform. And then repurposing content, because that's also something that people don't understand is crucial. You're creating one piece of content for Instagram. Like, we create a post, like, for example, 5 self-care tips for business owners. And you can repurpose that to Pinterest. You can repurpose that to Facebook, TikTok, Reels. You can do a pointing reel, do the 5, It's so easy to repurpose. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So she's going to be helping me with that. But it's interesting because in order to have somebody help you, you have to kind of onboard them. And like setting all the Excel sheets and having everything organizing was like, is it worth it for me to do this? And then you have to kind of step back, like, okay, it may take me 8 hours to do this, but it's going to save me hundreds of hours in the long run. So that's kind of where I'm at. So yes, I did just hire an intern.
Oh, we could talk about content marketing for hours. We could talk about So I can relate, because if you see anything we're doing on social media, we post every day. We've been doing that for like over a year, but it's because I have a virtual assistant who helps me with marketing and all the distribution. She puts all the content together. I review it and improve it, and it goes out. But yeah, repurposing content is why we do the podcast. That's why we take just the podcast and we create clips out of that, and we even quotes. We'll take snippets of quotes from that, and we can just have that on our various platforms and distribute it. We have a content rotation every 3 to 4 months. You'll see themes of content, all that, but it doesn't happen overnight. In the beginning, when she started out, I had to have that too, that kind of onboarding runway to get her going, and just ease her into it. But now she's a rock star, and sure your intern will be in the same route.
Yeah, well, now this is also a little piece of advice. So I'm starting, this is my first intern, but I am going to hire a VA as well to kind of help with lead generation. I have all my masterminds too recorded. So I'm kind of going to do what you're doing, where I'm taking snippets from there and creating reels from that too. So what I'm doing now is I'm recording all my trainings with her. So I have everything recorded and documents to where if I do bring on, or when I do bring on somebody else, I can just be like, spend the day like looking at these videos, kind of looking at, because I am just crazy when it comes to aesthetic and branding. So everything has to be like on brand, cohesive. And so I go through that in one of the presentations that I did with her, trainings, I should say. So kind of getting everything organized the first time around, so you don't have to do it over and over and over again, is helpful.
That's actually a huge tip. Document all that, because once you do it once, I mean, you may have to tweak it over time, but or expand on it, but that's really important, because you can't guarantee you're going to have the same person forever either. So
right, especially interns, because they're like 3 months, hopefully I also should say that I'm bootstrapping this. So hopefully in 3 months, I'll be able to actually hire somebody. And I'm hoping that she's going to be the person who works out to hire somebody. And then she can train the next person that comes on and kind of have it be that kind of process.
Yeah. It's good to have a plan. Well, it was great having you on. Like I said, we could, I say this to like almost every guest, but so you're not special or anything, but we could talk, we could keep talking for hours, but hopefully we can have you back sometime. Maybe we'll choose a topic or talk more about your business. It'd be awesome. It was great having you.
Yes, I would love that. Thank you so much.
All right. You have a good rest of your day. You too, Builders Crew. All right.
Thank you. You too.
That's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, please subscribe if you haven't already, and give us a thumbs up if we deserve it. If you want to comment on this episode's page, provide me with requests on topics for future episodes, or inquire about being a guest, please find your way to thebuilders.fm. You can contact me there or add a comment under these show notes. Now a word from our sponsor, my agency, Unified Web Design. We build custom websites, features, we maintain websites, we work with agencies to fulfill their web design and development needs, and more. If you're interested in our services or are looking for an agency to work with as a partner to build awesome sites for your clients, feel free to reach out to me at unifiedwebdesign.com. There's a handy contact me link at the top. Fill out that form and it will open a ticket, and that ticket will find its way to me. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you next time.